This is Northern Light for Thursday, June 25th. Good morning. I'm Monica Sandreski.
And I'm Catherine Wheeler. The Trump administration is moving to restrict access to gender-affirming care. That worries advocates in New York, especially after lawmakers failed to vote on two bills that would have countered those efforts.
These two programs would have helped us continue to be able to provide gender-affirming care in New York State.
Also on the show, we'll go to Keeseville, where a man always thought he'd be a farmer, then soon realized his true calling was far from the fields.
All the pieces just kind of fell into place, and I just, it came to me, and I was like, a food truck, that's kind of the way to do it.
And a group of pro bono lawyers are stopping in Massena and Potsdam today to help folks understand housing rights. We'll have a conversation about what to expect.
All that's coming up on Northern Light. Stick with us. Support for Northern Light here on North Country Public Radio comes from St. Lawrence Nurseries, Potsdam, providing the North Country with cold, hardy fruit and nut trees for over 100 years. slngrow.com. And from Cronin's Golf Resort, a regional destination for golf, dining, and lodging in the southern Adirondacks. Details at croninsgolfresort.com. This is Northern Light. I'm Monica Sandreski.
And I'm Catherine Wheeler. New York State is countersuing the Trump administration over a package of public safety laws that limit federal immigration activity. The state laws restrict ICE agents from wearing masks and ban formal cooperation agreements with local police. Governor Kathy Hochul says taxpayers expect their police to keep their communities safe.
They do not expect their local law enforcement resources to be diverted away from those responsibilities to carry out civil immigration enforcement on behalf of the Trump administration.
Hochul says the laws do not restrict the federal government in criminal investigations. The U.S. Justice Department says state lawmakers cannot regulate actions by the federal government.
The Clinton County Board of Elections will hold a full manual recount of the ballots cast in the Democratic primary for a Plattsburgh City Council seat. According to unofficial results, incumbent Ward 5 councilor David Manette beat Marvin Shaw by 15 votes. A lead of less than 20 votes triggers a recount. Ward 5 covers the northeastern part of the city, including the city beach. The recount is scheduled to take place next Wednesday at 11 a.m. at the County Board of Elections on Margaret Street.
Two bills that would have expanded and protected access to gender-affirming care in New York failed to move forward in the state legislative session. As the New York Public News Network's Shajina Shrestha reports, advocates are worried as the federal government moves to restrict this kind of care.
Queenie Royale says she cannot afford to be lazy when it comes to appearances. The 26-year-old says she has to make sure everything in the mirror looks just right, even when she heads out to work out in her neighborhood. She says as a trans woman, it's not about vanity, it's about personal safety.
I don't know who's going to see me. I don't know what they think. You never know who you're going to encounter. So I think that's just a really big thing of like knowing how you look, knowing how people perceive you, and doing everything in your power to protect yourself.
Royal says gender-affirming healthcare, which helps bring a person's gender expression in line with their gender identity, also serves as a form of shield for many in the gender non-conforming community.
We do not have the luxury to be lazy. We have to go through all of the, pretty much a checklist before we go outside. Even if I'm checking the mail, it's pretty much of like looking in the mirror, making sure that everything looks right. Not as far as like I can't go outside in my pajamas. I can definitely do that, but I have to make sure that I look presentable because of the things that could happen, you know?
She says this is why she's concerned for her community as the Trump administration advances regulations and restrictions targeting people's access to gender-affirming care. Those regulations range from limits on how federal Medicaid dollars can cover gender-affirming care to healthcare providers being subpoenaed to release information on who accessed that care through their systems. Those worries have been amplified after the New York State legislative session came to a close without votes to advance 2 bills to expand and protect gender-affirming care. One of the bills, which would advance the Gender-Affirming Care Access Program, called for providing support to agencies offering this form of health care. State Senator Kristen Gonzalez, the Democrat who sponsored the bill, says while it had support from both the Senate and the Assembly, the bill needed more allies.
That line item fell out altogether. And I think it's really important to ensure now more than ever we're expanding funding and access to care for trans youth, but that we have a partner in the executive in doing so.
Key Williams, the executive director at New Pride Agenda, says the bill was part of an effort to expand access to gender-affirming care beyond New York City. It focused on areas where there are little to no healthcare systems that provide this kind of care, or if they do, have long wait lists.
There already is a lack of gender-affirming care access across the state of New York, and therefore these 2 programs would have helped us continue to be able to provide gender-affirming care in New York State.
Another bill proposed was the Gender-Affirming Care Act. It would have codified protections for people accessing care through Medicaid by ensuring coverage regardless of federal funding. The push for this legislation came as the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services issued 2 federal proposals. The proposals aim to prohibit most Medicare and Medicaid-enrolled hospitals from providing gender-affirming care to youth, while also prohibiting federal Medicaid programs from covering this form of care. While these 2 federal proposals are still under consideration, some New Yorkers who access care say they are worried and confused. Royale says the back and forth of the proposals has led to people either delaying care or forgoing it altogether.
I specifically actually work with someone who is worried about switching insurance coverage because they won't cover the medication, worried about if they will, because there's a specific type of testosterone that they have to take. That's also a worry of like if they will cover it or not. And if they won't cover it, it's trying to find a new managed care provider that will cover it. And if Medicaid is not a thing, that's going to be even another issue.
The Gender-Affirming Care Act was advanced to a 3rd reading but failed to move out of the Senate Rules Committee. That's the final committee a bill needs to pass before receiving a vote on the Senate floor. Williams says for the next legislative session, their coalition is going to shift the message to focus on gender-affirming care as a push for health care.
Healthcare is a winning message. And so that's one of the things that we're thinking about, especially going into and knowing that right now we're in obviously an election season, is understanding that we need leadership that's going to invest in gender-affirming care. We need leadership that is going to stand in the values of believing that healthcare is a necessary right.
Senator Gonzalez adds that with everything happening on the federal level, she hopes the urgency for the need of this form of care will push these bills forward when they are proposed again next year. For the New York Public News Network, I'm Sajina Shrestha.
This is NCPR.
You're listening to Northern Light, only here on North Country Public Radio. It's 8:09. Good morning. I'm Monica Sandreski.
And I'm Catherine Wheeler. Stick around. We'll have a conversation with an attorney in the North Country who will be offering free legal clinics today in Massena and Potsdam.
That conversation's coming up in just a couple of minutes here on Northern Light, which is supported by the AdirondackExplorer.org and AdirondackAlmanac.com, presenting daily updated news on public policy, environmental issues, and local communities in the Adirondack Park. And from the Glenn and Carol Pearsall Adirondack Foundation, dedicated to improving the quality of life for year-round residents of the Adirondack Park, pearsallfoundation.org. Northern Light is also supported by Seacom Credit Union, serving the financial needs of people throughout northern New York and northwestern Vermont. In person, online at seacom.org, and on smartphones. music here from Joe Phillips out of Warrensburg.
Starting your own business can be a scary endeavor, but for one first-time business owner, pizza was the thing that made it worth the jump. Today, North Country at Work follows an entrepreneur who started his own pizza food truck. Kai Not Beg brings us this story from Keeseville.
Connor Stone always dreamed of being a farmer. So he went to Colorado to study sustainable agriculture.
I was like, I'm going to be a farmer. I'm going to own a farm. I'm going to run a farm. And then, after working for farms for like 5 to 7 years, I'm like, okay, this is really hard.
He discovered farming wasn't his calling when he was working at North Point Community Farm in the Champlain Valley. But he didn't want to leave the area. He had found a community there.
It felt like a little treasure chest I opened up and found, just so many cool people. I mean, it's not just all ag, too. There's a lot of really inspiring people in this area that have started small businesses.
So he thought back to his college days. He'd always had a passion for connecting food and people.
When I was living in Colorado, going to school, I managed a kitchen at a pizzeria and, learned the ins and outs of the dough, the food ordering, just really enjoyed it. And I also love pizza.
So he decided to start a small business of his own.
All the pieces just kind of fell into place, and I just, it came to me, and I was like, a food truck, that's kind of the way to do it.
Luckily for Stone, nearby Ausable Brewing was looking to host another food truck. In the early summer of 2025, Stone set up shop and began facing the trials and tribulations of owning a small business.
And I remember the feeling of, wow, there's like 40, 50 people here. It's a big party. Most of these people are here for me. They came to support me. And then I'm just like, okay, now I want to party and hang out, but I also got to cook pizza for these 50 people.
At his first event, he faced a few learning curves.
I got into the flow, and I burnt a lot of pizzas trying to figure out the ovens. It was my first time using them. And I just remember feeling like totally overwhelmed with the amount of support. Like all of my friends, my community showed up.
Working in the North Country comes with a set of unique seasonal challenges. The pizza truck being his only source of income, Stone began selling frozen pizzas to carry him through the winters.
So this winter was a big learning winter for me. It's a weird feeling to just run, and then just slow down. Yeah, so I've just been kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel trying to get by, and now it's go time again, and it feels great for me, and my bank account is also very excited.
Being a first-time business owner is something you can never quite prepare for.
I have to make sure I stay on top of things and have a huge list that just seems to always grow and grow and grow. And, I'm checking boxes, but it keeps piling on.
Staying connected with his farming roots when the season gets going, Stone gets many of his ingredients from the North Point Community Farm, where he continues to work once a week. He hopes to eventually hire and train more employees to continue his work at the truck.
I can see myself doing it for a long time and expanding. But yeah, I think that's a few years down the road, and that's okay. I've kind of signed myself up for a crazy few years, and I knew that, and I know that still.
There is a long journey ahead, but Stone is excited for it. He hopes he'll be cooking pizzas for a long time. For North Country Public Radio's North Country at Work project, I'm Kai Not Beg in Keeseville.
Anna Williams-Bergen contributed to this story. The story was recorded at a public collection event in Keeseville. It's part of North Country at Work's Next Generation project, which highlights stories from the region's young workers. If you have a story in mind, we want to hear it. Just text the word NEXT to 315-978-6277. You can also email us at work@ncpr.org.
The elementary school in Ausable Forks has been recommended for closure due to financial challenges in the district. According to the Adirondack Explorer, a consulting group said closing the school would save the Ausable Valley School District a net $1.1 million. The closure process would take 2 to 3 years. Under the proposal, Ausable Forks students would be transported to the district's other elementary school in Keeseville. The consultant suggested the alternative is bankruptcy. The district is struggling with health care costs, which account for more than a quarter of its budget. Additionally, state funding formulas don't work well in the Adirondacks because vacation homes make the district appear wealthier and not in need of state aid. The Explorer reports that consolidating the district schools into one campus is considered a more long-term solution. Superintendent Mike Francia says the district has had preliminary talks with the state about that option.
A Plattsburgh woman was convicted Tuesday of helping hide the body of a woman who was murdered last fall. 35-year-old Heaven Dashnaw was found guilty of hindering prosecution, 3 counts of tampering with physical evidence, and concealment of a human corpse, all felonies. According to the Clinton County District Attorney's Office, Dashnaw helped 34-year-old Keith Henry of Plattsburgh hide his wife's body in October. He shot and killed Chloe Henry in his vehicle in front of their 2 children, then brought her body to a wooded area in Shazy. Dashnaw is scheduled to be sentenced in late August. Henry, who testified against her, pleaded guilty to murder and other charges earlier this year. He faces 20 years to life in prison at his sentencing next week. In a statement, Clinton County DA Andrew Wiley said Chloe Henry, quote, deserved dignity, truth, and justice, and we will continue to support her family as the case proceeds to sentencing. If you or someone you know is experiencing domestic violence, you can contact the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 800-799-SAFE. That's 800-799-7233. You can also text START to 88788 or go to thehotline.org to start an online chat.
U.S. Senator from New York Kirsten Gillibrand on Wednesday criticized the Trump administration's war with Iran and proposed a deal to end it. The war has spurred long closures of the Strait of Hormuz, disrupting global supply chains and economies. Gillibrand says the administration has broken promises President Trump made while campaigning for his second term.
What did Americans get? We were promised that this conflict would make America more secure. Instead, Trump burned through billions of taxpayer dollars, drove up prices, and squeezed family budgets and small businesses across the entire nation.
Vice President J.D. Vance met with Iranian officials in Switzerland on Monday. He stated they created a, quote, good foundation for a successful final deal. The agreement aims to end the conflict between the United States and Iran, which has been ongoing since late February.
And in North Country baseball, the Saranac Surge lost to the Malone Border Hounds 7-8 yesterday, and the North Country Thunderbirds lost to the Tupper Lake River Pigs 7-8 on the road. The teams continue their series tonight. Saranac plays Malone today at 5 o'clock at Veterans Field. First pitch for the Thunderbirds and the River Pigs is at 7 in Tupper. This is NCPR.
You're listening to Northern Light here on North Country Public Radio. It's 8:19. I'm Monica Sandreski.
And I'm Catherine Wheeler. Stick around after the show for Bird Note, coming up at 8:42. With our eyes to the skies, sunset in Parishville is at 8:49 tonight, and the moon is a waxing gibbous at 83% to full.
In the weather forecast today, sunny skies right now, becoming cloudier this morning, giving way to rain showers this afternoon. Those will be moving into the area with the Thousand Islands and the Tug Hill around 3 o'clock today, and continuing east and north as well. Showers expected throughout the region overnight tonight, and rain and thunderstorms expected off and on during the day tomorrow. At last check, it was 16 degrees in Kingston, Ontario, and in the 60s in other communities. If you're dealing with a potential eviction issue with your landlord or tenant, some free legal advice is available to you. A group of pro bono lawyers are hosting a few drop-in clinics in the North Country this summer to help folks understand their housing rights. Adam Martin is an attorney with the Volunteer Lawyers Project. I called him up to talk about what you can expect when you come to a clinic and the situations that he can help with.
There are issues that seem to be, rife, I guess would be the word in the North Country in general. Oftentimes, habitability is an issue, meaning things like power and utilities prices being so high lately, and people get rent increases suddenly, and a lot of people don't really know that there's only a certain amount that a landlord can raise the rent. But whenever you're stuck and you don't know, then you just end up kind of paying it. Oftentimes, too, another problem is repairs, things that maybe a landlord said that they would get to, but they just haven't gotten to, that eventually become a bigger problem, and they start to really diminish the value and the peaceful enjoyment that a tenant is supposed to have with the property.
If tenants come out and they're dealing with an issue actively, will you be able to advise them on what to do next?
So we'll be able to offer a sort of legal information and some advice on their situation. If they've got something particular taking place and they're already in court, say with an eviction or with a habitability situation that's already gone to court, we'll ask them first if they have acquired an attorney, because we don't like to step on other people's toes, keep everything in our own lane. But if they've got nowhere else to turn, basically, and just really don't know what to do, definitely be able to give them legal help and information. We might even be able to represent them in court if it comes to that.
Manufactured homes and manufactured home parks are kind of this middle ground where people may rent manufactured homes, but oftentimes they own their home, but not the land that it's on.
Yep.
Do you work with people in that situation?
Yeah, absolutely. Mobile homes and manufactured homes are kind of in this limbo area where they've got some special rights. They've got tenant rights, and then there are also some kind of more homeowner-related rights. There's kind of like a special section of the law that deals with manufactured homes in New York State. So a lot of the issues with manufactured homes that I have experienced, which, is by no means comprehensive, but issues that kind of surround whose responsibility is whose when it comes to maintaining the property, and how much leeway the landlord can have with getting a mobile home owner off of the property. Because as a homeowner, then the mobile home owner has more rights than what just a regular tenant would have. And whenever it's time to be evicted, if it ever comes to that, then being able to move the mobile home presents a whole can of worms. And oftentimes it's so complicated that the homeowner then just decides to leave the trailer where it is instead of taking it with him. So in that way, the park owner ends up acquiring a whole bunch of properties to continue renting out.
For folks who plan to come out to one of the clinics, is there anything that you would suggest for them to bring with them, or how to come prepared?
I think that pretty much any lawyer will tell you, more is more. So if you've got an issue with a lease, for example, and you want to come talk about the lease, then bring a copy of the lease. Or if you've received a strange letter from a court that looks official and you don't quite understand it, then please bring it along. It's also helpful to have information regarding the other party. If it's the landlord, then maybe the landlord's name would be good to have. So basically that information, and particularly the lease, because that's the cornerstone of the whole relationship. When it comes down to push and shove in court, then what's on paper is always going to be really the most important thing. That's what the court's going to look at first.
With regard to evictions and issues that tenants or people who live in manufactured homes are dealing with, what keeps you up at night?
one of the things that I find to be the biggest problem, I suppose, is that the services could probably work better together. A lot of people, they'll get rental assistance and sometimes other, supplemental nutrition help with the heating and electricity. And those services don't kind of link up together. Say somebody is collecting, Section 8 or lives in a property that needs to have, a recertification or something through a government program. And when people don't recertify on their own, or it's also the landlord's responsibility to work with Section 8 in certain situations, somewhere along the line the communication starts to fall down. And then the relationship between landlord and tenant will break down to the point where the landlord's not willing to do anymore because, he's not getting anywhere. And then the funding is in jeopardy. And so it goes quickly to crisis mode if people don't keep that network healthy. So I'm really hoping that if we can get some good information out to the community about what the game plan should be legally, then maybe all of those things will start to come together a little bit better. Keep people in their homes. Homelessness, nobody wants to be homeless, but the home is the place where everybody is supposed to feel comfortable and safe. And whenever you don't have one of those, it really starts to affect your perspective and functionality in all areas of your life. Whenever you can't have any peace, so getting everybody together with under the same information and talking to one another is what it's all about.
Adam Martin is an attorney with the Volunteer Lawyers Project. They're a nonprofit based in Syracuse. Martin says they're planning to come up to the North Country at least once a month to help landlords and tenants understand their housing rights. They did one last night in Canton, and they'll be at the library in Massena this afternoon from 2 to 4, and then at the Potsdam Library at 5 o'clock. Next month, they'll do a few clinics in the Tri-Lakes. Find more details at vlpcny.org.
The Montreal International Jazz Festival kicks off today. It's the largest jazz festival in the world. 10 days of concerts from the world's top jazz musicians. Many shows are free. You can find the full schedule and buy tickets at montrealjazzfest.com. So we're going to go out on music from the London-based jazz collective Coco Roco. They'll be playing, doing a free show at the festival tomorrow. This is their song, The Age of Ascent. The Age of Ascent from the jazz collective Coco Roco. They're doing a show at the Montreal International Jazz Festival tomorrow night. It's free. The festival kicks off today. You can find more info and get tickets at montrealjazzfest.com. That's it for the show. I'm Monica Sandreski.
And I'm Catherine Wheeler. Be well.